Hey everybody, welcome to Not Up for Debate. It's Damien and Randy here, where we're going to be talking about some deep philosophical discussion, talk about religion, talk about politics, whatever we're going to be talking about, focusing mostly on different belief systems, that kind of thing, at least for this season. So today we have our guest Holly Miller with us. Holly's been a really good friend of ours for 4 or 5 years at least now, I think, and I just wanted to say welcome, Holly. How are you today?
Hey,
good.
Holly.
Hey, how are you guys?
We're
Good.
Fantastic.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for taking your time out of your day, Holly. So, Holly, can you just kind of introduce yourself a little bit? Kind of talk about maybe a hobby or two, or just like what you're doing in life. I know that you just did your externship.
So I am completing a master's degree in speech language pathology. I am hoping to work with kids, probably in like a private practice setting, not one that I own, at least not at first. I don't know if I want to own my own business or not. But yeah, I will be done with my externship in the next couple of weeks, and then hopefully starting a job where I can make some actual money.
Awesome. I know it's awesome. I know it's been a journey for you, so congratulations. You're like right there. So it's so exciting. Right.
Yeah,
it's
that's really cool.
It's like the sweet spot for the holidays too. So,
Yeah.
all right. So let's kind of dive right into the meat and potatoes. Now that we kind of know what Holly's passions are, my fire alarm is going off. So we're just going to pause real quick.
Yeah,
I was like, is that me?
I was wondering. I'm like,
All right. I swear. So I swear I hate it when they do this in houses, but our fire, like our sensor, is in the kitchen, like 5 feet from the oven and the stove. And I'm like, can like the engineering, like the planning of this house. Anyway,
that's funny.
So, but yeah, it's over now. Congratulations on on where you're at in the school. I know like you're so close, and that's got to be so rewarding. But also let's kind of dive into the meat and potatoes of why we're here. I know that I just wanted you to kind of start by maybe describing your ideas on the universe, humanity, what if you believe in an afterlife, if you what your beliefs or non-beliefs are. If you can just kind of take it away.
All right. So I am an atheist, and I don't believe in an afterlife. I am totally subscribed to the idea that the universe just came into existence, which is also hard to understand. But then over billions of years, life has evolved on this planet. I also believe that there must be other planets in like our gigantic universe that have life on them as well. But I don't believe in like a higher power. I think that the soul is more just your brain. So we, definitely are unique human beings. And so in that way, we all like are ourselves, but I don't think that there's a soul that's released when we die. Yeah. I'm not sure what else.
So, and like you said, we've kind of known you a while. You had a history of belief, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure because, there is definitely a unique perspective there than someone who, like, grew up atheist. So I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormon, and I, when I was 20 years old is when I became atheist, and it was from being, like, wanting to get married in the temple one day to having a friend who is atheist, and he was just asking me the right questions and had me really start thinking about some things. And then one day it just all kind of clicked in my head that religion didn't make sense. And then I was atheist. So, and the first thing I did was like run to my room and try to pray. But I didn't even like finish my prayer because I just felt like I was talking to myself. So I think that there's a big misconception, especially in the Mormon church, that people who are atheist only become atheist if they're mad at God or if they want to just like be deviant and sin. But I definitely don't think that either of those things were the case for me.
Do you happen to remember, you said your friend said the right thing. Do you happen to remember or what questions it was that was being asked?
So it was like over probably several months that he would kind of bring forth some things like information about how there weren't any horses in the Americas during the time of the Book of Mormon, but like Mormons take the Book of Mormon as like a like fact, as like a historical document. And so I started learning about like inconsistencies about things that are actually present in America versus what is said to have been in America based on the Book of Mormon. And so that definitely got me thinking, because there is actually like more evidence for the Bible, like, you know, at least coins and things that were around during the biblical time. So like in that respect, the Bible actually would be like more believable than the Book of Mormon, which the Book of Mormons do use both. So it's not one is like more believable than the other. But since I was very, very Mormon, questioning the Book of Mormon made me also kind of start questioning the Bible. And so I think that was a big thing, is just like the historical inconsistencies was a big thing for me, because I'm like, why, if there were these great wars in the Book of Mormon, why haven't we found evidence of that, like in archaeology and stuff? And then there were certain things that I just always kind of thought were silly, such as the word of wisdom and how it came about, which is something that is a Mormon thing where you're not supposed to have like coffee, tea, and alcohol. And it really just always sounded to me like Joseph Smith's wife was sick of having his friends over and getting drunk and like spitting tobacco everywhere. And so like, cause it was an instance where he went back to God a couple of times and then finally had this revelation. And like, they teach us that in church. And I'm like, how is that? So yeah. So I don't know, there were little things that I had always had questions about.
If I'm not mistaken, he had more than one wife, right? So it could have been a collection of.
But so in the Mormon church, they really just focus on the one, Emma. It's Emma, right, Damien?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So like they don't.
And I know that story too. So
yeah, and they really make it seem like he didn't have multiple wives. At least when I was growing up, like that was something that I didn't know about. Other than like I knew polygamy was a thing, but it was always for women whose husbands had like died in a war, and so they needed a man to take care of them so that they wouldn't, you know, starve.
Interesting. I my knowledge of the Mormon religion is pretty low, so I know Damien's heard all this, but actually a lot of this is kind of new to me, so I find it very interesting what you're saying. And this question I'm going to ask, I apologize if it sounds offensive, but it reminded me. Well, I don't know how many children we have listening to this podcast, so we'll probably, I don't know.
We can decide.
So
if
maybe we'll cut this out,
later.
but I'm going to say it anyways. Yeah, we can decide it. Yeah.
yeah.
It reminds me of when I got to talk about Santa. Actually, it was about the Easter Bunny. So I remember it was on Easter, and my mom told me the Easter Bunny wasn't real, and it crushed me, dude. Because like I'm a total, like I would still believe, man. Like I'm that guy, and I remember asking her, I'm like, wait a minute. So if the Easter Bunny is real, does that mean Santa's not real? And I was probably older than I should have been when we had this conversation. My point of that question, though, Holly, is when you ran to your bedroom to pray, I'm assuming it was because you didn't want to go against what you've been taught, right? Like you didn't want to go against God. And so did that lead to like an anger or a sadness or both? Or
A lot of sadness. I still occasionally I feel like I'm like still going through a mourning process where some days I just, really kind of wish that like I did think it was true, because so I grew up without a dad. I had like some stepdads here and there, but like so like the consistent fatherly presence in my life to me was like Heavenly Father. And like Jesus was my bro and he was on my side and he was there to, pick me up when I was feeling down. And so I had really positive regard for like Heavenly Father and Jesus. And so when I like ran to my room to pray, it was for Heavenly Father to hopefully like, give me confirmation that no, you're wrong. I'm still here. I'm still here for you. Everything's fine. But I definitely did not feel that. I just felt like I was talking to myself, and I felt like whatever I had believed in, the Easter Bunny, was gone, and now the curtain had been pulled aside, and it just, hasn't ever been able to go back into the hat. Okay, there were a lot of what are those called? Right there, yeah. Like, sorry guys, that probably didn't really work, but you know what I'm saying.
No, that works. So you're not spiritual at all anymore then? Like,
no, which is somewhat different from, I feel like, a lot of atheists. Like there's still some atheists who believe in energy or like a higher power of some kind. And I can kind of subscribe to the energy thing, like maybe the energies we put out influence things somehow, but pretty much I just think that there's nothing other than just the universe. And so like, it's just all cause and effect. So if I don't know, if I'm not paying attention while I'm driving and I get into a car accident, and it's not because like I was meant to get into that car accident for something. It's just because I wasn't paying attention and I got into a car accident. I think that the earth is freaking awesome and the universe is crazy. And I wish, one of my biggest things that I'm sad about is that I won't be able to like visit other planets with other creatures and see what life is like on other planets. I think that would be so cool. And that's something that when I was Mormon, I kind of thought we'd be able to do, because we believe that we'll become gods and goddesses in the afterlife and have our own planet and be like omnipotent and be able to just go around the universe willy-nilly. And so I'm like, I get to go explore. Well, we don't.
So believing in a deity or a god is definitely a leap of faith. But to me, believing in no God is also a leap of faith that you've taken. I mean, is that, I think we had a kind of conversation like that before. I don't know if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you, I guess I don't know if that was more of a question or just my own question. Like, I think it's amazing that you were able to come to that realization, because I have a hard time, like because everyone I think has had those thoughts, right? Like, is this real? I've even heard my pastor say, where he talked about that he has had doubts, and he's a pastor, and I think it's human nature. So I guess what I'm trying to, I don't know if it's, like I said, I think it's more of a statement than a question, just about taking that leap, because to me it's just as much of a leap one way as it is the other, kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any 2 cents on that, or
I've like tried to believe again. It's one of those things though that like it really was for me just like a switch going off, and so it just feels very like inauthentic. It feels like me pretending if I am trying to like communicate with God or anything like that. So for my brain, it really just was like, oh, okay, this doesn't make sense anymore. We're done. But I still am
Right.
like, I'm not someone who's like, there is 100% no God or no higher power or nothing else out there in the universe. I am technically more like, I don't remember exactly what they call it, but like agnostic atheist, because like I'm like 95% atheist, where there's still a little bit that I'm like, obviously there's no way that I could know for like certain
Right.
that there's nothing. So I kind of have the philosophy that I will just live my life as like a good person and be nice to others and try to not mess up the planet as much as I can. And that if there is some
Right.
deity and if I am wrong, then hopefully I've been a good enough person that like I'll be good.
So, Holly, a couple thoughts, and I think there's going to be a question. You know how I can just talk. No, so would you? So I have always thought that an atheist would just be someone who that you just described, like someone that is. There's like no proof to it to me, or there's nothing that shows me that there's a God, or a creator, but if there is, like, that's fine. I'm just not going to subscribe to that like belief without seeing something or like without proof of it of any kind. So when you said like you're more of an agnostic atheist, that's actually how I've always viewed atheists. Would you say that you're like you have atheist friends that are like absolutely like not only do I not know that it's not. Do you have atheist friends who are more like there is absolutely no way there's a God? Like, is that more of the common theme in atheism,
No.
or is it like
When she
You know what
hangs
I mean?
out at the atheist club or what?
well,
No,
and
so-
the only reason I assume that you have atheist friends is because the other day you text me. You text me. Most of my friends are atheists, so I was like, okay, so I feel like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
safe to bring to say here.
So I think that it is more common for most atheists to be like agnostic-ish. But it's just like such a small, like, you know, it's just such a small percentage of, you know, you just, there's no way to know. But there are some people, when I was like looking up terms and stuff online back in the day, there are some people that are very much like, no, if you believe that there's even a possibility of God, then you're not a true atheist. You are agnostic. And so I'm like, okay, well, then I guess like I'm agnostic atheist. You know, it's just because to me, agnostic is more like I don't know, but I still kind of believe that there is a God. And that's definitely not me. I believe that it's more likely that there isn't.
But you're open. It's like with aliens. Like, I don't know if I believe in aliens, but I definitely am open to the idea of aliens or, you know, other type.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it sounds like. You're
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you're
Like
not saying there's no possible.
Right. And I think that if there is a God, then for me, it's not what my understanding of what God, especially like the God of the Bible, what my understanding was or is, just based on my own opinion, it seems like if there is a deity, then it's not one that like I've really heard a lot about or is more hands off than what I was taught growing up.
Yeah, I remember I read the Einstein biography, and that was one thing that he absolutely believed there was a creator, but he didn't believe in the idea of a personal deity. Like, he believed someone had to have made all the rules and the way the universe works. He said like it was like nearly impossible that things could have just magically happened the way they did, but he couldn't wrap his head around the idea of a personal God, where that God is just dealing with you, Holly, and you know, when you prayed. Yeah. So it was more of a broad God. That sounds weird to say, but you know, it was the creator. And then I remember watching a documentary years ago with Ben Stein, you know, Bueller. Anyone? I don't know if you guys remember who I'm talking about. But there was a documentary he had made about what's the term they use? But basically, it's about believing in the possibility of a creator. I guess in the science world, that's like not a thing you like to advertise, that you believe that there could be the possibility of a creator.
Oh, really?
And I guess at the time, and I don't know if it's still this way or
okay.
Yeah, according to this Ben Stein documentary, and I wish I remembered the name of it so people can look it up. But if you Google Ben Stein and documentary about oh my gosh, there's a term they use. But anyways, so according to him, there was quite a few scientists that were pretty far in their career, but once they admitted that they believed that there was a chance that there was a creator, not even like a Jewish God or just a creator in general, that kind of led to their career taking a dive. So I don't know how true it is, and it was just an interesting documentary.
Well, and it could be just depending on where you're at, what your peer group is like and stuff. I could definitely see that. And those are people that I'm sure are 100% atheists, because I think that it's, I don't know, that's so ridiculous that they would just be like shut out of science if they even like said maybe there was a creator, because that's part of science, is knowing that you don't know everything. And there are tons of things that are like way beyond our brain capacity that like I don't know, I feel like I don't know, that's like that I would be very bitter about that.
And like I said, I don't know, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I remember that and it stuck out to me. I'm not like in the profession of, but I have Randy and Holly, you guys both know this, but our listeners might not. I have a bachelor degree in psychology, and that's considered science, right? And so it's almost the opposite. I'm just kidding.
I
know
some people call it pseudoscience or whatever you want to call it. I consider it a science, definitely. But it's almost a science that intermingles with spirituality in some senses. You know what I mean? Like, so it's in my learning, it was almost the opposite of what you just talked about, Randy. Like, it was a lot of famous psychologists and therapists that kind of have paved the way of how we actually do therapy sessions and such. A lot of the times they like not require you, but like really push for you to almost like have an inner, at least an inner being or whatever, like have some kind of God.
Right.
So it's not like it obviously was not like your therapist isn't going to say I require you to believe in God or whatever, but there's a lot that or a lot of famous therapists that paved the way that kind of like had their, what am I trying to say? Had the way that they do things based on belief in God. So anyway, I hope my non medical, non-psychology brain.
No, that and I did look that up just in case anyone wants to look into that. The documentary was called Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed, and it's got Ben Stein on the front. And the term I was looking for and I couldn't think of is intelligent design. So that's the term they use for basically there's a chance for there to be a creator. And I think maybe this was in 2008, maybe views have kind of opened up a little. I don't know. Or maybe it was just a documentary trying to sell to a certain demographic. And, so they said it. But with it being Ben Stein, he's known. And I watched it just because he was in it. And I found it interesting. But like I said, it's been a long time. But I think what triggered all of that was when Holly was talking about maybe there was a chance that there could be someone. It reminded me of the intelligent design, and I couldn't think of that term, that maybe somebody was in charge of, setting up the planets and all that. Yeah, putting it all together. It was really interesting, though, when you were talking about, and once again, I know, Damien, you're really familiar with the Mormon thing, but about the planets and all that. Like, I had heard that if and mine's very naive, and so this could be far from the truth. But I heard that if you had a certain amount of kids and all that, that you can get yourself a planet, and but I didn't know you can roam from planet to planet and checking out each other's, and knocking on your neighbor's door and saying, hey, I don't know, that wasn't something I was familiar with.
Yeah, I would say, so I'm sure that not every Mormon would believe that, and it's definitely not based off of how many kids you have. It is, though, I'm pretty sure that to like get your own planet, you were supposed to like be married in the temple. I think that was a big thing is, you have to have made it to the celestial kingdom. And I don't know, Damien, did you think that you would be able to like visit other people? I thought that in the celestial kingdom, you're able to kind of like have free roam and you'd be able to like visit other people. So in my head, that means like visiting other planets. And it just seemed like we would have kind of the ability to kind of go wherever we wanted to in the universe once we were back in our spiritual bodies. Well, I guess we would have our physical bodies, but
when I was LDS, I was so deep into it that I proposed to Patty over on top of this beautiful like hill, and had a beautiful view of our hometown, which it was amazing. But it was like right over the temple. I proposed to her on there, and my question, I didn't say it because I screwed up and I was nervous, but I was what my plan was to ask her something along the lines of, or like tell her something along the lines of, when I get to the celestial kingdom, when I get to the celestial kingdom, I want my home, and this might be weird, man, but I want my home to be like almost modeled after this temple, at least on the outside, and I need my goddess with me, right? Like, so yes, I absolutely believe
that's really sweet.
I was gonna
to me, like growing up.
It is really sweet. It is very sweet. I totally screwed it up, and I didn't ask him that way. Thank you. But I didn't. Like I said, I messed up and butchered it. But it was still fine. Like it was still a great proposal. But anyway, yes, I was like, I totally believed in like owning, being a god, becoming gods, having planets. And I don't think there's any, like, as far as I know, there's not like specific teachings on you can only visit 3 other planets a year, or like 3 universes a year, or whatever. But but I've always assumed that it's pretty like open. Like, yes, if I wanted to go and visit Holly's planet, like she'd welcome me over for Thanksgiving dinner, kind of thing.
Over.
Now on this planet to planet travel, is that like via rocket ship, or is that like you're just there, like the spiritual?
I would probably choose the rocket ship. I'm kidding.
Okay.
No, I always just assumed, teleportation. You're a god. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you can
do whatever. But the novelty of a rocket
Yeah.
ship might be good, especially since you have all eternity. So you gotta entertain yourself somehow.
Yeah,
true, good point.
Holly's people on her planet, I'd be like coming in on a rocket ship and be like, "What's up, bitches?" And they'd probably be thinking dinosaurs are coming back or something, and Holly would be like, "No, it's just my friend Damien. Everybody chill out." No.
And if you are a Mormon follower, please don't take offense to what we're saying. The whole point of this is to discuss and to get things out. So there might be things we say that are offensive to some, but hopefully
we're trying
you're
not to
open-minded
be, because we're not judging
right.
other people.
In fact, in the first episode, Damien talked about wanting to talk to Hitler followers or Hitler believers, or what did you say?
Yeah, I basically
Hitler
said
worshippers.
I basically said I'm so open to like having different conversations with different belief systems here that if you worshipped Hitler yourself or himself, I would want to chat with you.
I would love to have that conversation.
I would think that you're a freak. Right. There are some
No,
limitations. There are some limitations
right.
on
you're
that.
Not going to win me
like,
over.
Okay.
But just like I don't think that I'm going to make you guys atheists just by being on your podcast.
Right, exactly.
Right. But it's intriguing to hear, and that was things that me and Damien would have with these conversations that looked like you guys did too. To hear people's point of view and why they did, especially like well, both of you have kind of switched tracks, right? Damien went from Mormonism to Christianity. You went from Mormonism to probably nothing, a belief in nothing, but you still have that little open door. But it's really interesting to see the transition and to hear what happened and why. And we got to go to break soon, but I mean, I even have some stuff that definitely, you probably, sure.
I wanted to very quickly for my current LDS friends, it's a specific type of Christianity that Damien went to. We understand that the LDS religion is Christian. Randy, how you phrased that, I could see a lot of people being like, we are Christian. So, yeah. Not saying that LDS people are not Christian.
Right. No, absolutely. And I think because of the nature of this podcast, we're probably going to say some stuff that's going to offend some people.
Yeah.
Hopefully, though, anyone who's actually listening to this is open-minded and they understand it's not out of hate. If anything, it's just out of naivety or, we don't know. I didn't know that. I think I've heard that in the past, but I wasn't thinking it. Especially because when I do talk to like Damien, he uses one term or the other. Damien will say Mormonism and then Christianity as if they were two. But like you said, that people do believe they are Christians still. So, but there's so many different types of Christianity, even amongst non-Mormons. You have your Baptists and, Seventh-day Adventists and, there's so many different Lutherans and non-denominational, which is what me and Damien both subscribe to. Catholic, yeah, one of the biggest ones out there, if not the biggest. I didn't even think of that. And then you have, what is it? And I know it's an old, I don't even know if they're still active followers, but what the Black Sea Scrolls, the Essenes, I think they were called, or whatever. They were a Christian, but they were also on the Gnostic side of Christianity, and that's where the Gospel according to Thomas, that was their, from what I understand, one of their Gospels that they read. And I don't know if you've ever read that, Holly, but it's really interesting. Mm-hmm. If you haven't, it's free online, and it's really interesting. A lot of this, and I say this again, it's going to sound weird, but a lot of it was more like Jesus's teachings on you using your own power, like powers that were given to you, not just, they're from God, but not necessarily through God. If that makes sense. Like there were gifts given to us. And so, it's really interesting read, and it's real short. It's not like a long gospel. So, anyways, I had a point to all that. Oh, we were talking about the difference in, Christianity, Mormonism, or the similarities, differences, whatever. So, anyways. All right, guys, we're going to go to break. Hang tight, and we'll be back after this.
Hey, Randy, you remember how excited I was when I bought my house here in San Antonio?
Oh, yeah, man. You were pretty excited.
You know the one thing I didn't like?
That you were 2,000 miles away from the blue field?
The fence, Randy. The fence.
Oh.
Yeah, it was one windstorm from blowing over. That is until I was introduced to Van & Sons Fencing. Mark was able to meet with me right away and give me free quotes on different variations of how to build our fence. I eventually went with cedar pickets, treated 2x4s, and metal posts that were able to withstand winds of 120 miles per hour.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And you need that with the storms you get down there.
Right. And a year later, I'm still happy with the beautiful sturdy fence and the 2 gates that Van & Sons built for us. Mark, the owner, is actually a neighbor of mine, and he's done several fences in our neighborhood, and I can tell that they have integrity with each job. They don't cut corners, and they offer fair prices. They'll price match other reputable fence companies, too.
Well, if I get my act together and actually move to San Antonio, I'll have to hit up Van & Sons Fencing. Are they on social media?
Of course. Check out Van & Sons Fencing on Facebook. They have plenty of great pictures of their craftsmanship. And when you're ready, you can message them directly on Messenger or call or text Mark directly at 210-944-9238. Oh, and remember, fences make great neighbors. Hey, Randy, have you ever had crack and cheese?
Well, I've had one of those. I'll let you guess which one.
Combine them, man. Just like Satisfied Food Truck did to create their delicious crack and cheese dinner. It's a handcrafted 3-cheese macaroni with buttery panko, or what they call a hood rat crumble, on top. I love the hood rat crumble.
Oh man, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, chasing it down with their Gingosaurus punch is the next step to a perfect dinner. And if you don't go for the crack and cheese, then go for the basic bird slider. I love me a good mini burger.
I mean, why not get both?
Exactly. Order the whole food truck.
How do I find them?
They're in the San Antonio area. Look up Satisfried on Facebook or at satisfried.sa on Instagram. Also, they do catering. Visit their catering website at enzosce.com. That's ENZOSCE.com.
Awesome. I'll tell them Damien sent me. Hey guys, Randy from the podcast here. As you might have known, I'm actually a realtor in the Boise, Idaho mountain home area with Next Home Treasure Valley. If you are looking to move to this area, let me know. Send me a message, and I'd like to help you out.
Yeah, and I can vouch for Randy's real estate expertise. I lived in Boise, Caldwell, for 7 years, and he was ready to sell my house when I was ready to move for work purposes. Love the area. I 100% recommend that area as well, and Randy was right on the ball.
Thanks, Damien, man. I appreciate it. So if you go to YouTube at Randy W Real Estate, that'll take you to my videos, or you can just email me at randy@randywrealestate.com, and we can get the ball rolling. So let me know if there's anything you need. And thanks, Damien. Thank you, guys.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Not Up for Debate. Thanks for taking that short break for us. Still got Holly here. I know, Holly, you were we kind of wanted to go into a little bit. I was wondering what are your thoughts on why there are so many religions? Because I think the religions are probably countless, right? Like I doubt that we know exactly how many religions are in this world. So why do you think there's so many and they're so diverse?
So, okay, that's a good question. And it's something that I thought about a lot when I was kind of becoming atheist, was about like why, if there is one God, why there are so many religions in the world, and why there have been since ancient times. There have been different types of religions and all of that. And the conclusion I came to is that we as people, we want to feel like our life has purpose. We want to kind of feel like hopefully there's someone out there protecting us, and that maybe there's a reason for all the bad things that do happen, because sometimes bad things are inevitable. And so to believe that it's all part of a plan is kind of comforting. And then also I think that some of the diversity, but also where a lot of religions converge, is to explain unexplainable at the time, like phenomenons. And I'm sure this isn't groundbreaking, but it was something that I thought a lot about, because I was just like, why, if there's no God, like, why is there so much religion? And I think that for me really answers, because we are human, we are curious, and we don't want to be bad people. We don't want to feel like we're alone. I think it's a lot of comfort and explaining the unexplainable.
Would you say that a lot of it too, a lot of it has to do with like the afterlife, like and the funny thing is, because I know a lot of religious people that are like, I take so much comfort in knowing that they're like, I'm gonna be with God, or there's like an afterlife. And then I know so many like atheists and agnostics even that are like, I am so set on not living anymore after I die. Like I'm like, I don't want another journey. I'm good on ending things. So what are you?
I think that an afterlife. Sorry, that was something that I had when I was thinking about this earlier today. Yeah. Especially death, I think, is a huge comfort in religion. Especially so for yourself, but for your loved ones. Like, think about people who have lost children, or just, anyone that you have been really, really close to. But some of the losses can be really devastating. And so, a lot of losses can be really devastating. So I think that was another way to use religion as comfort, is that you'll still be able to see this person again. And I used to think that even for like my pets. Like, it's okay. Like, it's hard now, but you'll be able to see Sparky again when, when you die.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that that's a big part also is the comfort of an afterlife. And that was something for me that when I became atheist, I had a big crisis with being terrified of death. Like, all the time, I'm scared I'm going to die. I'm scared people I love are going to die. And I had to really kind of learn to accept that, yes, you are going to die. And yes, people you love may die. And you can't think about it 24/7 because then you're just not going to live your life.
It's really interesting to me, Holly, because the so I don't mean to cut you off, Randy. The timeline, or like our timelines, because we came out of the same religion, and just so our listeners know, I'm not looking for a bunch of ex-Mormons. Like, come on, this, like, it just happens to be that is where my life was, right? So like, and I happen to know a lot of LDS people and ex-LDS anyway, but so coming out of Mormonism, I had like that same. I didn't go into atheism, but there was a part where I was very close, I think, to going atheist, but I think I was more agnostic, and that's when I was actually living in the Mormon church. So, like active, but not actually there, mentally and spiritually. I was very afraid of death too, actually. So it was really interesting when I was like, I didn't have that connection, or I didn't have something to believe in, and so it's interesting that. I think what you're saying and what I'm saying is like we have a decision, right? Like I have a belief, you have a non-belief, and we're both like, okay, we're fine with the concept of death. I think that's what you're saying, is that you're fine with the concept of death, but I think we're both. It's interesting how the timeline kind of worked out, where we're both like getting out, and got that scared of death kind of thing, and then anyway,
yeah.
So that's interesting.
What about the possibility of reincarnation, Holly?
So I've also thought about that, and so I've like, I don't know, I've thought that maybe because that's a way for like the energy to transfer. If like kind of we do have our own energy, then that is definitely a possibility. But to me, that kind of, I don't know. I have always struggled with depression and anxiety, and I'm like, if I have to keep living life over and over on this planet, like, that doesn't sound fun to me. Like, I was looking into Buddhism, and from the little tiny bit that I looked into, it seems that they believe in reincarnation until you get to this kind of like level place, nirvana, where you then no longer are reincarnated. You get to like skip out of that. And I'm like, yeah, I if I believed in that, I would definitely be searching for nirvana, because I would not want to be constantly reincarnated into this world, because there's just a lot of like, I don't know, a lot of suffering, which is what they believe in too. They believe in like life is suffering.
Right.
And nirvana is essentially, from what I understand, nirvana is basically heaven, like the Buddhist heaven is, from what I understand. But also, I think, right, like I think and maybe I'm wrong, but so if there's any Buddhists out there, like, just correct me. But I believe it's like each life is, you're supposed to keep basically reliving lives until you learn like everything you're supposed to learn. And so people like Mother Teresa, Jesus Christ, Gandhi, like
Mother Teresa wasn't a good person.
Okay, well, that now I'm learning. Okay, so no, just kidding. So these people that we like perceive as like amazing, like amazing individuals, or what, like spiritual, powerful people, whatever, we hold in that regard are like now in nirvana, probably, like by our best guess is that they're in nirvana because they've mastered life or whatever. I believe that's how that.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of just like a state of mind. I didn't think that they still believed that now you're in a different place, but I only did a little bit of research into it. I thought it was kind of like,
so did I. I don't.
So, but it was interesting.
Yeah, I don't have, and I know this isn't the Buddhist episode, but I mean, obviously things are going to be brought up like that, and I think reincarnation is a really cool concept. I actually I can talk about that for a while, but I don't dismiss that idea. Even as a Christian, I don't dismiss that idea, and so whereas basically any Bible believing Christian does. So okay, so a couple other questions that I kind of wanted to hop into. Randy, are you okay with that? Or were you?
Well,
trying to
I had a couple follow-ups too, but
okay.
Well, Holly made a comment. You said if we are energy, so, but you also quoted the law of conservation at the same time. So I don't know, like,
Explain.
is that
I don't know
the law
that
of conservation
just based
is
off of
sorry. So the law of conservation is the energy can't be created or what's the word
sure.
here?
So
Destroyed.
it's like right. So that would make
Yeah.
it would make sense because then it's just like recycling the energy since if that if there's a finite amount of energy and that's then we're just kind of recycling it. So I would think that if there is reincarnation, then we've all probably had countless lives, not countless because obviously there's only been humans for. Or just, I guess, creatures on this earth for a set amount of years. But we've been around for a long time, guys.
So one of the things that I had heard, and I don't know if I subscribed to it or not, and I brought it up on the last episode, is so basically God's the Alpha and the Omega, right? So he's the beginning and the end, which means that he's everything. And there's some belief that means that God is everything. He's you, he's me, he's Damien, he's the desk, he's the keyboard, he's the atoms that create those things. And so in a way, if that is true, then in a way it is kind of like a reincarnation because you've lived in all the lives, right? And then I was telling Damien, I was in the shower, it's over a week ago now, not since my last shower, but since the thought.
He was telling me while he was in the shower. We were in the shower. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. No. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we were in the shower. And, anyways, I was thinking of like dreams. Like in a dream, you are that person that you're talking to in your dream. You are that person that's attacking you or whatever. It's your subconscious that is creating that person that you see in a third person point of view, but it's all coming from you. So it kind of, you can almost draw that picture from the Alpha Omega comment I made earlier. Like, what if I'm just another aspect of you or Damien or whatever, and I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if I believe that, but I find it really interesting, the chance of that. So, anyways, that's, I guess I don't even know where I went with that. So anyways, it just, something sparked that thought, and what you guys were talking about. So anyways.
For some reason, I find that idea like not a fun mind experiment for me. I'm just like, well, okay, I guess if I'm living in my own little universe and I've created all of this, or the whole like, what if we're all just someone's science experiment? I don't know. Then it's like, oh, well, like then we are, because I still have my own problems and you still have your own problems. Like, even if for some reason it's all my mind, like, I don't know that. So I don't know. So for me, it's just like, I
heard a recording from Alan Watts where he was saying that he compared it to a dream. Like if you could make your dreams, you design them, right? Think of like, what's that movie with everyone was their own emotions? But like if you're the director of your own dreams, you can make your dream. At first you make everything perfect, right? Utopia. But then the dream gets kind of boring. So then you add a little bit of just some kind of traction. And then eventually you make your dream like your life is now, like, because you want a little bit of, you don't want everything to just go perfect because then it's just boring.
You want some risk and reward, and you want some yin and yang.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Holly's not agreeing with that one.
No, I'm like, when people are like, you can't just have like it easy. I'm like, why? Like, please, or at least like easier. Like, I don't know. I feel like life is way too much suffering and not enough like happiness.
So I'll agree with like life that, it'd be nice to have everything nice. But honestly, if you are watching a movie or something where there's not enough negative stuff, that movie does get boring. I'm not going to quote Halloween Town, but, what's that?
Negative. I don't know. I like happy and comedy and stuff.
Like,
so yet again, I think that I just.
Well, give me some of your favorite comedies. One.
Okay.
Hopefully
just
I know
for
it.
some reason, the one that came to mind was I Love You, Man. And so,
Okay,
there is the like, oh, they might not be friends anymore. But then,
I love that movie.
Just like works out in the end.
Have you seen that movie, Damien?
Yes, yeah, but not for a long time. Yes,
Dude, I love
Yeah,
Jason
I don't know why
Segel's
that
character
came,
in that movie.
but I loved that movie so much.
it's so funny.
But he had, and even though it wasn't like a life fearing issue, he was trying to find some best men to go on, and there was all the crazy stuff that he had to go through. If there's not all that crazy stuff, the movie's boring. Like at the beginning of the movie, if he had all his best men and groomsmen and she didn't, like the movie would just be them sitting there going, okay.
But
It just
life
wouldn't be
isn't
a
a
story,
movie.
basically.
Like, I mean, that's just because of movies. You have to have that. And so sometimes like watching dramas, like especially shows, I get to a point where I'm like, okay, I have to pause because this is just like too much. I already have like enough of this in
drama.
real life that I like sadness and depression and just like shit that I don't need to be watching that. And
It's like
so
so relatable.
what?
I'd say you probably should watch more I Love You, Man then.
It's like too relatable, and so Holly, I think you're kind of like, I don't want to be able to relate to every single drama.
Not only
in the
that,
world.
like they only have like 2 seconds to enjoy. Like if your favorite characters finally get together and then 2 seconds later they're having a fight and now they're breaking up, like why did I invest my emotions into that? Like I don't know.
Or they only get together at the end of the movie and then they finally get married, and you're like, okay, so. Like, do they have kids? Do they like what? Do they move to Texas?
Well, I'm thinking more of like for TV
Friends.
shows.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Where
okay,
like
that's
where
fair.
you know
That's fair.
like
Okay.
they can only be like happy for one episode and then it has to all start going
I
to
see.
crap. And you're just like, yeah. So I do not think that life has to be like that. I would, like some more peace and easy breezy ness. I don't know.
So
No, definitely.
what you're reminding me of, Holly, is like, and I mean, we can try to not bring politics into this too much, but like it's like when older generations will say, Holly and I are roughly the same age, right? And Randy's a little bit older than us, but I'm talking about I'm talking about probably Randy's parents' age, our parents' age maybe, but when people would say the boomers, it's not always the boomers, but the concept of like, man, like we used to have kids dig in the coal mines or whatever, and like they should like understand how lucky they are now. And I'm like, well, my kids like can't eat if I'm not working 3 jobs. So, like it's not, I know that the struggle has gotten a little easier. It doesn't
It's
mean that
just
the struggle's
different.
not there. You know what I mean?
That's a
like-
different struggle.
It's a different struggle,
and it's not-
and they
it doesn't
think
mean
that it's
that life can't
comparing
be
apples
easier.
to apples when it's comparing apples to oranges, and
Right.
like they cannot. Some of these people, I'm not talking about an entire generation, but some of these people who
Absolutely.
like say that kind of stuff, they don't understand that it's not a fair comparison of like, well, I had to, especially I think it's a lot of times like hard labor kind of thing too. Like, well, you're just in now like these fancy offices and you don't even have to really like work. And it's like, just because it's mental work doesn't make it any less like stressful in its own way.
Right. I could agree with that. I have, not that everybody needs to know this, and we might edit this out later, but I get like I've gotten some really bad headaches over the last few years, like, and I attribute a lot of that to sitting in front of a screen all the time. And I know people are like, oh, you have a headache, like poor. It's like, all right, next time you break your foot, like let me know and I'll come like stomp on it a few times. You know what I mean? So it is a different struggle. Also my eyes are like burning up lately, and I have some really bad, like I have to use special eye drops. Anyway, and I attribute that a lot to staring at screens for 8 to 12 hours a day. And it's not because I'm just on my phone. It's because I'm like that is how we communicate now, period. You know, so, but work is all on a computer. But, Holly, I've been kind of dying to get into some of these questions. So I'm going to it's not going to switch topics, obviously, but it's going to switch gear maybe a little bit. So at the very beginning, you cut out a little bit, but I believe you said you fully subscribe to the idea that the universe like just happened, basically. And so I wanted to go into that a little bit more. Like, is there a way it happened? Like, so is it the Big Bang theory, or do you not really care about that, or you know what I mean? So I'm kind of wondering more about that. And then I also want to kind of talk about belief in life on other planets, aliens, that kind of thing. Like, I think that's really fun to talk about.
Okay. So this is something that I do want to research more to see, like, if there is something really specific that I believe. So sad, lame answer is that I'm not exactly sure. I do know that, okay, this is going to be hearsay, so I don't know if I even want to, like, talk about it. But the friend who kind of helped me become atheist also talked about how there have been studies where they have like laboratory experiments where life essentially can kind of start from nothing, and I would need to research that and all of that. But Big Bang seems fairly solid. There is like the whole like, well, where did all the matter come from to begin with? And that is one of those things that I'm like, I don't know. But just because we don't know doesn't mean that someone had to like put it there, that someone had to make it. So it is, I don't know.
No, and when you said, when you started saying, you know, this is going to sound silly or whatever, because I don't know, honestly, that is like and to me, like the embodiment, and I hope this doesn't sound rude at all. That's like the embodiment of an atheist, where they're like, I don't really know. And I'm not like afraid to say that I don't really know. So I don't think that's at all bad to be like, I don't freaking know. And that's why you're like where you're at. You know what I mean? It's like, cause if you knew there was a God, or if you knew Big Bang was like, we wouldn't be having this discussion. So,
you know, on a counter of that, man, my mom probably had the most faith of any person that I've known, and she couldn't care less how it all worked. She just knew she believed, and that was it. She didn't need to know all of the Gospels by heart, and she didn't need to, you know, she just believed. That was it. She went to church, and she loved it. She fell asleep most of the time. You know, but she believed, man. And I remember even back then going, dude, I envy that so bad, you know, because I want to find out why it is what it is, and you know, kind of like what we're asking, you know, and so in some ways I kind of envy Holly's, you know, I don't know, like that's just, I don't know, I'm gonna do some research, you know, or whatever, but yeah, my question, and Holly, I asked you this years ago, I remember, and you kind of rolled your eyes at me, and maybe you don't even want to answer it now. I am
preparing to roll my eyes right now, trying to
that is perfectly fine. It's been a long time since you rolled your eyes at me, so
get the bleep button ready. No, I'm just kidding.
But here's a question. Yeah, exactly. And it's not just from you, and you could just, because I think at the time you were just like, I don't even want to worry about it. But it was, what is trying so hard to survive? Like, what is that thing that just keeps on going, that Energizer Bunny, in your opinion, if you even have one? If not, that's fine too. But you know what I'm saying? Like, what is it?
Yeah, like why do people try so hard? Why do they want to keep living?
No, like your buddy said that life can just start from nothing, that you want to look into the research on that. But if that is true, like, which I've never seen anything, but if it is, what is it that's that life that keeps wanting to keep going? Like, I don't know, just, it doesn't even have to be a person, like cells, like there's, like, if you have your cell division or whatever, like, what is it that's driving biology in order to make life just come? Right. What is driving that biology? I know, unless that was your answer.
Yeah, I think that so this is why I think I was frustrated before, is like, you want more of an answer than what I think the answer is, which is biology. We are here, or like, you know, organisms want to reproduce, organisms want to evolve in a way where like predators won't get to them. And to me, the reason why that happens and the reason that it is just like it's programmed into our DNA. It's biology. That's also why, you know, even when we're really, okay, never mind. I don't want to get into that. I was going to say like sometimes like even people who are suicidal, like when they go to actually do it, then there's like the defense mechanism where most of the time, you know, we don't want to actually kill ourselves. Because I think that it's just like in our DNA that it's like self-preservation is so important. And I feel like even in those cells, like it's just part of the DNA of life.
So I think it's not a question to you. I think it's my own question to myself. And that's why I think I have a hard time just thinking that things just created out of nothing is the fact that there's something that is holding on for, no pun intended, dear life. Like something wants life to continue for it to just spontaneously, and I know I'm not the only one, and I'm sure you've heard this before, but for it to spontaneously just happen, it's really hard to wrap my head around. And I think that's why I asked you the question, was I was hoping that you can answer that question for me that I have, because it's just one of those things. I've asked it many
to me,
times.
it seems pretty simple that we want to live because we want to live. Like we're alive and we want to be alive because that's just part of our biology. And so to me, it's odd that there has to be like a reason why we want to live other than just that we want to live.
See, and I envy that. I wish I could. I wish that, but I get it. I appreciate your
Damien,
honest,
what do you think about that?
Yeah.
So a couple different thoughts. I think I don't know if there's like I don't want to cause any division because this is not up for debate. But no, but I think maybe there's two different pages because I think Randy's like almost talking on like almost like a humanity spectrum. Like why is humanity like wanting to survive like in general? And I think Holly's thinking about like me as an individual. Why do I want to survive?
No, I mean everyone.
You just mean
like,
I'm going broader.
I mean,
I'm not just thinking.
And you're not just thinking humanity,
like the
Randy,
universe. Like why is there even this? Yeah. Why is I just think it just is.
Yeah, if evolution is real, and I know a lot of people believe that it is 100%, is why though? Like that's the thing. I've always wanted to hear what a strong answer would be on that, and maybe it's as simple as because it does.
So I think evolution, and another like fellow Christians may hate me after they listen to like a season of our podcast, but I don't necessarily think that evolution is a line of crap. You know, like there's it's basically proven, I believe anyway, in at least some things.
We've been able to like see creatures evolve. Right.
And I've seen this. I saw this video like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. I was just barely watching it. And I thought it was kind of comical, but I was like, ooh, it's kind of freaky. But there was evolution. It was like what humans will look like in 2075, which I also think is like a random line of bullcrap. Like anyway, and it's like we're basically, this is so sad, but basically we're like all completely like
hunched
over, like our like yes,
right.
and you're like your body's built that way now, and it's specifically because
phones, right? Doing this. Of course.
So like our natural human body, like our babies are starting to be born with like, and I'm like, I don't know about. Maybe in the distant future, I don't know, but 2075, I'm like, it's kind of a weird number.
Yeah,
I think it might be a weird idea to throw out there, but I was like, okay, I think it's kind of funny, but anyway, so
yeah, no, for the record, I don't know if I. Sorry, I didn't mean. I thought you were done.
No, I think the reason for evolution isn't necessarily a. I don't know. I don't know that there's a because. I think there's, or I don't know that there's a. I think there's a cause. Basically,
I feel like it's cause and effect.
If we need to, yeah, exactly. So if we need to live, if all of a sudden we had to like live in 3 feet of water all the time, we might start developing webbed feet. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I think it's just how nature works is, and it is nature's way of doing what Randy's asking about, of keeping us alive. Like, why are we doing that? Like, why did we develop the web feet instead of just die? You know, so it is a really intriguing question, Randy.
And I do think that
I don't even necessarily. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I do think that if there was some religion that like I would subscribe to, it would be very like nature based, and you know, like reverence and respect toward nature. I don't know, but I think because I think that that's what is like carrying us on, and the earth is going to be around longer than we are probably to, you know, we'll see. I don't know, just because right now we're kind of on a crash course with earth as humans. But I feel like
Holly,
other creatures are going to survive.
I think Holly, you're like, I don't believe in hell, but I think that's where everybody's going. No, I think that's where we're headed. No, I'm just kidding.
It's one of the reasons I'm like, should I have kids? Is that mean to have kids in this world?
I know.
I like how Damien said hell, and you went right to having kids. But like that was really interesting.
No, because I don't want my kids to be in hell.
Oh, right, gotcha.
Yes,
I just liked the link.
I got that.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was causing you hell. I was thinking I don't want to bring that to anybody else.
Well, so 2 points. One, I wasn't necessarily saying I don't believe in evolution. I actually don't know what I kind of think they go hand in hand. Like, I think you can have religion and evolution together.
Absolutely.
The other thing was hell. So on that Gospel of Thomas, he talks about, Jesus on there talks about how heaven is here on earth, here and now, basically. And I looked at, I can actually see.
This is heaven, gross.
Hold on. I can actually see that people could be in hell or heaven. On, you know, you can see by people the way they talk. Like, go on your Facebook page and start noticing you have friends right now that are in hell. Like, they post negative stuff every single day. Nothing goes good in those people's lives. And then you have that friend that nothing goes wrong in those lives. Now, both of them probably have a little of both. Let's just be honest.
And both of them are probably being a little bit fake. You know what I mean? Like, just a little bit.
Yeah. But,
or dramatic or whatever.
But it seems like people seem, what's the term for a ball in motion, or an object in motion tends to stay in motion? Inertia. So it's almost like people have this inertia with more than just physical movement, but also emotional movement. And so you can almost see that is like a person living in a heaven or a hell or whatever here on earth. Like, you know, and I know I'm stretching the term, but I've seen people who are in hell here in Walmart, you know, and not that I'm calling Walmart hell, in case you want to be a sponsor. But you get my point.
I'm calling it hell.
I mean, think about all the children. I don't know. I feel like there's plenty of people who are in hell, and it's not their disposition. It's not because
something
of choices that they have made.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. And I feel like, there are a lot of people who maybe have made their own choices that, or they're just like, they like to just be dramatic and like talk things up and act like, but also the opposite. They'll only talk about the good things while they're like being beaten at home. Like, I don't know.
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I mean, usually you can see on people, but you brought up the children, and honestly, and not to be Debbie Downer, and it has nothing to do with our topic at all, but after I got cancer, and going through chemo, the one thing that really makes me hurt inside is thinking of the children that are going through that, or even worse than what I went through. And it's so hard to wrap my head around that, because I can't even imagine being 4 years old and dealing with what I deal with as a 45-year-old man, you know, being a 40, you know, it's really, that's the one thing that breaks my heart when I think about that. So
And I think that that's one of the reasons why, to me, people turn to religion is those types of things that like there couldn't be any real reason because these children haven't done anything wrong, so it's not God punishing them. So that's why I think that some people are like there has to be a purpose for this, and there's a comfort in thinking like her time is done or and like this is all part of God's plan because if not, then it just seems horrible, and I think that it's just part of the randomness of life, so it is still horrible, but I don't think that it's caused by anything other than just cancer cells or someone making a crap decision to like beat their children or rape someone, like sorry if this needs to get cut out.
No, that's
that's fine.
I think that there's comfort in the idea of having all these crappy things have a reason behind them. And then it really made me reevaluate. I used to think that everyone is good. The whole like deep down, everyone is good. I don't necessarily think that anymore. I do think that there are some people, I don't think it's the majority, but I kind of think that some people are like quote unquote evil. There are some people that I think are just fundamentally bad. Or just like go towards that more easily than they go towards being like what I would consider good. And of course we could get into, I do think that there's a lot of nature versus nurture type of thing that we can go into about that. But right. I do think that there are some people that kind of are just like not that great.
Right. One of the, this is going off topic a little bit, but what's his name? It's one of the famous serial killers. It might be Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't know if it's Jeffrey Dahmer, but there's one, a famous serial killer who, like had a completely normal childhood. Like, and that shocked me because I was like, most of them are like, like getting, like you said, getting beaten. A lot of them times they're getting raped, that kind of thing. Not really having parents or having abusive, anyway. And finding some comfort in like destroying shit or whatever. And then they grew up and, into monsters. But yeah, I know it's off topic, but I just thought it was interesting that I heard this, a podcast actually going over the life of one of the
thing is normal is subjective anyways, right? So what I find
healthy,
normal, you might
healthy,
not.
I
guess healthy.
Maybe
like
healthy
to me,
right
like humans are generally like ingrained with the idea not to kill one another, even if it is just for survival. You don't want to be pushed out of the community because you're a killer.
Yeah, I think that we would all agree that not being a murderer could be like considered normal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So anyway,
it's also normal though to have thoughts of maybe like wanting to hurt someone, not constantly, but I'm just also going to throw out there that
like
I think that some people go really the opposite, where they try to have like perfect thoughts all the time, and that's just not possible. It's also normal to have, when you're angry or something, to like maybe think about hitting someone, as long as you're not actually doing it.
Right.
Yeah. Thoughts are random for sure. I think it's how we respond to those thoughts is, what makes the difference.
Randy and I pray, some people go to an altar or whatever. Some people do, go out into the woods and fast or whatever, whatever it is, to connect with, their God, or their deity. Is there something like that that's similar that you do that, brings you peace or comfort or, yeah.
So definitely sometimes nature. So there's two different ways I'm going to answer this question. So, the world and nature is very awe-inspiring and beautiful and wonderful. There are some crappy parts too. I mean, like even animals can like beat up each other, and I'm not going to go into that. But like, just I can definitely have some very awe-inspiring moments, looking at nature and like, just thinking about things. But so one of the things that I definitely was worried about when I was leaving the Mormon Church was feeling the spirit, because I definitely had instances where you like feel very peaceful and comforted and loved, and the Mormon religion, thinks that's like the Holy Ghost, and like Heavenly Father sending you, comforting you and stuff. And I had definitely had those feelings in the Mormon religion. And so I was like, okay, what about this? I have still been able to like get those feelings, one in like nature, but also there have been times where I've kind of been like in a little bit of a mental crisis, really stressed out, really overwhelmed. And so this is going to sound really cheesy, but Damien, with you with a psychology background, it might not be as weird to you. I have kind of actually gotten a big Holly in my brain. It sounds so stupid. I don't know how to like describe it, but there have been times where like I'm just so overwhelmed and I kind of just picture like a wiser, older me, like being able to just kind of give me a hug and kind of like be like, it's okay, you're going through a lot of hard things right now and it's okay to feel these things. And, so I kind of like use myself almost as my higher power now to comfort myself.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And I've told some therapists that and they're like, cool, that's awesome. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
But also I think just the beauty in various things, it can be very awe-inspiring and bring peace and like joy and stuff too.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. That I think that's really cool. That was not. I'm glad I asked that. I'm glad we went into that. Because I don't think that's weird at all to have your like big Holly. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of us, in one way or another, might have that just a tiny bit. Like, but usually it's looking back. Like, and I know that I'm still pretty young. But I'm like, okay, 28-year-old me, 22-year-old me would not even know, like, would have no clue where I am right now, and would be very proud of myself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so if 22-year-old me could like see where Damien or 28-year-old Damien is now, he would be very proud of himself. But you're almost doing it in reverse, which is super cool. Where you're like, okay, where is 60-year-old Holly or whatever the age, you imagine 60-year-old Holly. What does she have to tell me? Like, don't drink the coffee tomorrow. I'm just kidding.
And when you're talking to older, wiser you, Holly, do you see yourself as a third person point of view, or do you see that older person from your own eyes, like inside your head?
It would be more from my own eyes. So like I'm seeing. Well, I guess it can kind of go both ways because, I mean, you're just picturing it in your head. But yeah, generally I kind of like see them outside of myself. And then like when we're hugging, then it would kind of like pan out and I would like see myself being hugged by this other person.
You got this whole theatrical thing.
Yeah.
And then the dancers come in. Well, it was interesting because you said I see them, so you're almost seeing like an older you and another your age you? Yeah,
like so like how in dreams, since we were talking about dreams earlier, sometimes I feel like you're in yourself and sometimes you're kind of like floating above yourself movie style. Like you're the camera even though you still recognize that's you. So it's like sometimes me gets personified as maybe like someone like crying on the floor in a ball. And so then this other person kind of comes and comforts me, or sometimes it is just me and I can see this, see is very subjective. It's not really seeing. It's just imagining this other person, and they're not even necessarily in my head like older than me. It'd be more just kind of like a wiser version of me. That I
assumed
think
older.
Yeah, well, because I think I said older, like older and wiser.
Okay.
But I think that it's just more like the me that's, how you treat your friends so much differently than yourself and you give your friends so much more passes. Like it's understandable that you did this thing because of this reason. I think it's me doing that to myself. Like, it's okay that you're overwhelmed right now. Like anyone would be overwhelmed going through this. I don't know. So it's almost me talking to myself without all the judgment that I normally have towards myself.
That sounds
cool.
pretty healthy, actually.
Yeah. I was about to say that sounds like it's a good thing. So that's cool. We are probably getting to that time. My wife, I know, is like, you gonna come have dinner or what? But
what's for dinner?
I think it's biscuits and gravy. But did you any last questions or anything else you guys wanted to go over?
I have a last question.
Okay.
I've really enjoyed having you on, and would you be interested in maybe coming on in the future for like a follow-up thing?
Yeah, I don't know how much will have changed, but if we have new questions, that'd be great. Or just hanging out and chatting, because I know I like chatting with you guys.
And and I'd be fine with that too.
Yep. Season 2, it'll be like follow-up visit with Holly. Like, just secondary questions for atheism or whatever. But that'd be.
Well, in reality, you never know. I mean, if we do have people that maybe will pose questions in comments or what have you. So there might be some follow-ups that we're not thinking of right now. Yep. Or while I'm editing this, and seeing it 100 times, there might be something that pops up. So
I just thought of one
anyways,
thing.
There you go. So you're starting already.
Yeah, about ghosts. Like, there are some atheists that still believe in like ghosts and spirits and stuff. I don't, but that would be something to like chat about. I don't know.
Cool to go over.
Now that we know the answer already.
Thanks. I know. Spoiler, you just cut that out. You could just be like, ghosts and spirits, and then just stop.
Ooh, my.
What's going to happen? What's going to happen next episode?
Tune in next month.
Exactly.
See what Holly thinks.
That is a good, that could be a good show, though, to talk about that type of thing, more paranormal, beliefs. And
I think it's super interesting.
I do too. I actually, and I know we're getting towards the end, and I'm sorry. You guys were talking about, or we were talking about heaven
and hell.
We all
have ADHD, so it's hard for us to stop talking.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of my ideas, I don't think of a physical place of heaven and hell. I actually think it's more like a dream, because when you are in a dream, that is real to you, right? Like, someone hits you over the head with a bat. They hit you over the head with that bat. So I feel like it's just like a prolonged dream. And then, and who knows, there's the whole row your boat, life is but a dream. Maybe we're in a dream right now. So whenever I'm talking to someone and they're like, I'm like, hey, how's things going? They're like, living the dream. I'm always like, is this your dream or mine? Just so I know, nice. Who to blame on this. So, but anyway, sorry, I just had to throw that in there. Well, I think I'm good. Anything else you guys want to kind of go over? Or?
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah.
No, you're welcome, and thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. You're our first guest, and I couldn't think of a more awesome person to have as our first guest. So
I do think it's funny how we like advertise not up for debate as talking about like belief systems, and then I'm like, first guest is someone that doesn't have one. So let's I really appreciate and
then we did kind of debate a little bit of a couple different things, but like very nicely. I don't know. Debate is, I think, up for debate because some people think that any discussion is debate, and some people think that debate is only like attacking each other. So,
and that's a good point. I think with us, and we talked about this on the first episode, it's just about listening to people and not your way has to be the way, I mean, for me, I don't know 100% what I believe. So like I've told Damien, I really, and on the first episode, I don't even really necessarily believe that the Bible's 100% the word of God, if you will. And a lot of Christians, that's like, whoa.
So blasphemy.
I think it's blasphemy. So I think it's a matter of listening to people. And I think that was when Damien brought up the idea about this podcast, I love the idea of having people on here that are, I don't know, just not argumentative. Like we're
it's more information based.
Yeah, it's more about shutting up and listening,
And also it's cool because you get to learn about different people's points of view. And I think that sometimes when we're in our own little communities, we don't get to learn very much about how other people genuinely think. It's all just like how we think they think.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly it. And me and Damien, we've always thought it was intriguing just talking about why people believe the way they believe. Like, you know, why is Holly an atheist now when she was Mormon, or why Carla does believe in polytheistic ways, and so it was like, oh man, we sit down and talk, and maybe other people will find that interesting too, and you know, and maybe they'll have something just as interesting to talk to us about, or you know what I'm saying. So who knows where it can go, and you know. Or it could just be us listening to this, you know, who knows?
Yeah,
I'm excited that I'm going to be on a podcast.
Worst case scenario.
There you go.
Yes, I'm glad.
And we appreciate you coming.
Worst case scenario, we're having a good time. You know, right? Like, and nobody else
exactly.
we're having a good time. I enjoy this. So,
even though Patty, I'm sorry. Tell Patty we're sorry that we have kept you for so long, and that I love her and I miss her.
Okay, so again, Holly, thank you for coming and joining us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. And I
been
know this can, and awesome. I know it can get like deeply personal, and we appreciate you diving in and having a good time with it. For our listeners, remember you can send us questions, as Randy suggested that you might send us questions at contact@notupthenumber4debate.com. Contact at notupfordebate.com. And you can check us out at Not Up for Debate, number 4 debate.com as well. So that's our website and our email address. So anyway, and also if anybody has someone of a background that they might be interested in speaking with us that we haven't covered yet, feel free to send us an email to that email as well. So thank you everyone, and
yes,
have
thank
a great
you, Holly,
week
again.
Yes, and thank you, Holly. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.